Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We have a very special guest here who does a very special and very important job. We have with us Miss Rachel from Living Lands and Waters, which is located right here in our library district. And we're so excited to get an opportunity to have them join us. Living Lands and Waters does such an amazing job. They work very hard to help keep our river clean and to help keep the all the little creeks and stuff that run into the river need to be clean too. So it's really important. So can we all wave hello to Miss Rachel? Say hello, Miss Rachel.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year. And thank you so much, Miss Jade, for letting me join in on our River Valley District Library program this morning. Super excited to join all of you and talk to you a little bit more about what I do here in the Quad Cities and all over the country, with the focus on keeping our rivers and our natural environment clean. And so today I'm going to be with you for about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and I'm going to be showcasing to you a PowerPoint presentation telling you about the story of Living Lands and Waters and how it all got started. We're going to talk a little bit more about why it's so important to keep our rivers clean. I'll be giving you a barge tour, a virtual barge tour that is. And then at the very end, we'll have a little bit of time for question and answer. So if you have questions that pop up in your head during the presentation, feel free to put those into the chat or just hold on to them to the very end, and we will be sure to get those questions answered from there. And so, Miss Jade, I'm going to start beginning to share my PowerPoint. If there are comments or questions that pop up in the chat or somebody wants to raise their hand, would you mind helping facilitate that for me just so I can keep focusing on the presentation?
Absolutely, I will.
Wonderful. Okay, so here we go, everybody. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen right now? That has all that garbage on it. I see Miss Jade with a thumbs up, so I think that's a good sign. So I'm gonna really start us off. So again, thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Rachel Loomis. I'm the current educator on board with the organization of Living Lands and Waters. We are a non-for-profit organization based right here in the Quad Cities, specifically East Moline, that has the action and the goal of cleaning up America's rivers. So as you can see from this very first picture here, there is a lot of garbage, and you may be wondering, is that at a landfill or at a garbage dropping site? Well, in fact, this is actually all garbage that we've cleaned up from rivers just this past year. So in the year of 2020, we cleaned up on the Mississippi River, the Illinois River, and even the Ohio River. And it's kind of crazy to think, but 22 years ago is when this guy started this organization of Living Lands and Waters. Just by a show of hands, who's ever heard of Living Lands and Waters or Chad Pergracki? Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I see some hands, which is great. Yep, he's kind of like a hometown hero right here in East Moline. Chad Pergracki, grew up in Hampton, Illinois, right here on the Mississippi River in the Quad Cities. He grew up on the river, growing up with his parents like any other kid, and he had the Mississippi River in his backyard. He knew just how important the Mississippi River was for multiple reasons. People use it every day for drinking water, for fishing, for recreating, and even just for looking at the beautiful views of the river that they bring each and every day. And so Chad, actually back in the day, he was a young guy, like 20, 21 years old, and he was a mussel shell diver for his job. As you can see from this picture here, he has some scuba gear on. He has a net in the front of his body to collect all those mussels. He has some goggles and a breathing tank to help him breathe when he's under the water. And so he was diving for these mussel shells right here in the Quad Cities in the Mississippi River. Now, for those of you that don't know what a mussel is, this is what it is. It looks exactly kind of like a shell that you would find on a beach. They come in different shapes and textures and colors. You can see this one kind of has a few bumps on it. This one's white, this one's a little darker. Some of them are really small, like the one I just showed you. And some of them are really big, about as big as my face, right? And these mussels are so important for our freshwater systems as they serve as natural filters in the water. In fact, they can filter up to 15 gallons of water in just one single day. They're filtering things like bacteria out of the water. And so they're really helping making our water clean and better for us to drink and other creatures to drink as well. So he was diving for these mussels, and he had a different perspective of the Mississippi River than most of us do. Instead of looking at the Mississippi River from above, he was diving underneath and seeing, plants, maybe some fish, obviously the mussel shells, but he was also seeing a lot of garbage in the Mississippi River. And so as a young gentleman, he wanted to do something about it. And after some time of asking people questions of why is this garbage sitting here? How come nobody is doing anything? He took matters into his own hands and started cleaning up the Mississippi River himself. This is Chad Progracki in what's called a John boat. This is a John boat that's about 25 feet long. And as you can see in this picture, he was cleaning up things such as tires from cars, maybe some metal scrap, and what even looks to be like an old mattress that has been sitting in the Mississippi River for quite some time. He was cleaning up a lot of different items, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of hard work in order to do that. And remember, it was just him doing this all by himself. And so he wanted to continue cleaning up this garbage, but like I said, he knew how much hard work it was for just himself. And so he was trying to get attention from local businesses and organizations, even community members, to say, hey, come help me out. Come give me some money if you have some, so I can continue this mission and goal of cleaning up the Mississippi River. He started cleaning up more and more garbage, which caught the attention of all these different people. And actually, he started to put this garbage on display in front of his parents' house. With that, more people started to really pay attention to his mission and his goal. And with that, he started to get more attention from people all over the country. From this slide here, you can see that Chad, starting in that upper right-hand corner, he's actually been to the White House. He has been recognized by famous musicians and actors that really recognize him and his work. He goes and speaks all over the country to businesses and corporations to really say, hey, this is something that I've done and that you can be a part of. He's been featured on television shows. And in that upper left-hand corner, he actually won CNN Hero of the Year back in 2013. So it just goes to show you that one guy started this whole mission and goal because he was passionate about keeping our rivers clean. And look how much recognition he's gotten over the years. And so fast forward to current day 2021, in those 22, 23 years, we have cleaned up in 21 different states, cleaning up on 24 different rivers with the help of over 117,000 volunteers, cleaning up nearly 11 million pounds of garbage. So think of all that garbage. That's a lot, right? And you can only imagine that, yes, there is still garbage in rivers today, and we are still working on that mission and goal to clean up the rivers, just like Chad started 22 years ago. And so from Chad, that one person, from his one mission and goal, from that one John boat, this is actually what our operation looks like today. No, I'm not currently sitting on the barge. Our barges are actually near southern Illinois right now, and they will be moving its way to Paducah, Kentucky shortly. But this is where we live for 6 to 9 months out of the year. We, meaning myself, Chad, his wife, and all the other crew members, which are about 8 other crew members, we live here for 6 to 9 months out of a year, traveling up and down these remarkable rivers to clean up the garbage. We have currently right now, we only have 3 garbage barges. We just got rid of our tire barge, but we're looking to gain another one. So in usual, typical days, we have 4 garbage barges. And then our 5th one, our 1 garbage barge has been converted into a house barge. So this is where we are living. This is the barge that you can see on the screen that has a roof on the top. We'll be able to get a little tour of this in a while, but again, this is where we are waking up each morning. We are going to work right on the river, and then we go to sleep here as well. So can't wait to show you guys that tour in a little while. So my question to you guys is, how do we use water in our everyday life? Knowing how close we are to the Mississippi River right here in the Quad Cities, I know we probably are all familiar with crossing over the river on the I-80 or I-74 bridge. And we look at the river a lot of times for sunsets or sunrises, right? Because it's such a beautiful view. But does anybody else have an answer on how we use water in our everyday life? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Oh, I see a hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Yep.
We can drink it, and we use it for showers and or baths, washing
Absolutely.
our hands, flushing our toilets, pretty much for everything. So, like, around in a state, there would be, I guess, over 100 pounds of water.
There's a lot of reasons why we use water in our everyday lives for sure. And I'm so glad you mentioned that we drink water, right? We drink water every day. It's really great for us to drink water. And in fact, 18 million people get their drinking water from the Mississippi River each and every day. So we gotta be sure that it is staying clean so we can be sure to drink it. You said washing dishes, going to the bathroom, showering. Those are definitely all ways that we use water most of our days, right? Almost every day. Laundry, of course. We water our plants, maybe in our garden or in our yard. We go fishing. We eat those fish. We recreate. We might be going boating or kayaking on the river. There are so many beautiful ways that we utilize the river, whether it's the Mississippi River or other rivers in the United States and the world each and every day. The Mississippi River is over 2,000 miles long. It starts all the way up in Minnesota. Hopefully you can see my mouse. It goes through Wisconsin, comes down near us in the Quad Cities in Iowa and Illinois, goes all the way down to St. Louis. Then it goes into Memphis, Tennessee. And the screen's not showing it too well, but it then goes to New Orleans, where then all this water that is from the Mississippi River goes into the Gulf of Mexico, which then leads to the ocean. As you can see from this picture here, all those other small blue squiggly lines represent other rivers in the United States as well. These rivers lead or feed into the Mississippi River. So you can be sure that whatever happens in the beautiful state of Montana will eventually lead into the Mississippi River. If something in the water is happening near Ohio, the state of Ohio, on the Ohio River, that water can lead into the Mississippi River as well. So there's pollution happening. It carries down into the watershed. It then leads into the Mississippi River, to the Gulf, and to the ocean. So not only is it important to keep our rivers and our water clean right here in the Quad Cities, but all over the country as well. And as you can see, we are cleaning up way large amounts of garbage from the rivers, whether it's small or large. We find cigarette butts near the banks of the river all the time. People are littering these small pieces of plastic. Cigarette butts are actually made of 99% plastic, and they have 3,000 chemicals in just one individual cigarette butt. So we know it's harming our bodies if we smoke these. So you can only imagine how much it's harming our water quality, as well as the animals that thrive off of the river water as well. In this next picture here, you can see a lot of single-use plastic. Now, does anybody know what I mean when I say single-use plastic? Yeah, I see some heads. Do you want to go ahead and let me know what you think single-use plastic means?
Well, obviously, it means it's been used once. So, like, for example, some people, like, they just use water bottles or Gatorade bottles. put them in the trash. Unlike that one time when I rinsed it out and tried to keep it.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much for contributing that answer. So single-use plastic, it's an item of plastic that is probably most likely only being used one time and then it's going into the garbage. Now, a lot of people think that it might go into the recycling bin, which is great, but a water bottle can only be recycled so many times before it does in fact end up in the landfill. So single-use plastic examples: water bottles, Gatorade bottles, juice bottles, soda pop bottles, also plastic forks and knives and spoons, and straws. Plastic straws are being used in the US and the world every single day. In fact, 500 million plastic straws are used just in the United States every single day, which is a lot of straws, right? And yes, they are ending up in our river systems, which is not good. This is the bagged up single-use plastic that I showed you a little bit earlier. There's also a lot of styrofoam that we are finding out in the rivers nowadays. Garbage has really shifted to plastic within the last decade or so because us humans are using it so much. We also find a lot of tires on the banks of the river as well. This is a true picture that, we were out on the Ohio River, and this is real. We find about 3,000 tires in a year, which is a crazy amount, but luckily we partner with the company of Bridgestone, where they take the tires off of our hands for free, take them to their facility, grind them up into small pieces where they repurpose those tires into those surfaces that are a little bit more soft and cushiony, such as a track field or a surface underneath a playground set. And so this is me in one of those John boats, just like I showed you earlier that Chad started with. And we fill these 30-foot John boats up as much as we possibly can with all sorts of garbage, whether it's tires, refrigerators, mattresses, hot tubs, as you can see, all sorts of different plastic. And so it's really remarkable that we're able to do this type of work and make our environment a little bit of a cleaner place. And so we, of course, have to think about us as humans and how it's impacting us, but we also have to think about the creatures that are living in the water and thriving off of the water as well. As you can see, this is a seahorse that's probably in the ocean. Remember, all this garbage could eventually end up in our oceans, as 90% of the garbage starts in our rivers. And so a seahorse, we know that a seahorse probably shouldn't be carrying a Q-tip, right? So it's not good to see this on a small scale. But also turtles, for example. Turtles are finding these plastic particles, microplastics that are in our waters, whether that's river water, lake water, or ocean water. And they're seeing these plastics and thinking it's food, when in fact it's just plastics, and it's really making their stomachs hurt. So that way, unfortunately, they pass away. This example, scientists found this turtle on the shores of Florida, and there was 138 pieces of plastic in its belly. I actually have a jar right here that showcases just how small microplastics can be. And when I mix it up in this jar, if you were a turtle, you might think this is a little bug swimming around that you could eat, right? Because all the sand and the dirt, it kind of makes it look confusing. So small pieces of plastic, they're really a problem in today's society for our waterways. And seabirds are, eating all this garbage. They think it's food because this is just what they're used to seeing, when unfortunately that should not be the case. And so it's really our job to make sure that we are reducing the garbage in our everyday life, to make sure that we are cutting out and eliminating that garbage as much as we possibly can to end up being in our natural environment. So my question to you students is, how do you start making a difference today? I know we live right next to the Mississippi River, so it's a lot more relatable for us, but we all don't live next to the ocean, right? Or maybe not all of us live next to the river. So what can you do in your everyday life to start making a difference? Does anybody have any answers? And if not, that's okay. There are so many things you can do in your everyday life to start making a difference. Just as we had discussed before, a reusable water bottle is definitely something that we should be considering instead of using plastic bottles in our everyday life. Another example is refusing those plastic straws and plastic utensils from restaurants and fast food places. You can reduce your use of styrofoam by refusing to take that styrofoam to go container from a restaurant, right? There are just so many different things. Another example is a bamboo toothbrush instead of a plastic one from a drugstore, right? And so it's just really about making those small changes in our everyday life. And so as you guys can see here, we are on the mission and the goal to clean up this river, to clean up all this garbage, to make sure our generation and for generations to come are living in a cleaner, more safe, with better water quality, natural environment for years and years to come. And so just to wrap up the PowerPoint presentation, I'd like to end on a quote. I'm a big fan of quotes. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And so just like Chad, if you have a mission or a goal to make a difference in your community, you can start that in your life. You might get a lot of no's, but there's going to be somebody that tells you yes, and that's when you can really accomplish your goals and your missions towards making this world a better place. So with that, I'm super excited that I was able to give you that presentation. And so next, I am going to give you a little bit of a barge tour. Is everybody ready for this? Yeah, I'm seeing some heads, thumbs up, hopefully. All right, there we go. So welcome aboard to the Living Lands and Waters barge operation. You are currently standing in the barge house galley kitchen. And so this is on one side of our house barge. This is where we host our morning meetings every single day when we are on the barge. And this is also where we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, when we have late night snacks and late night chats with everybody. As you can see, it's pretty roomy and it actually does look exactly like a home. Yes, we do have a fridge, a kitchen sink, a dishwasher. We also have, let me see here if I can move this around.
Rachel, I think all I'm seeing is the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
Outside of the PowerPoint, I don't think it's sharing correctly.
Okay, let me see here. Let me see. Okay, I think I can get it right now. Can you see it now?
There we go. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. So as I was saying, this is the galley kitchen. We have a pantry, a fridge, a sink, a dishwasher. We have a stove, an oven. It's pretty spacious and it feels like home. And so a lot of people are always saying, you live on a garbage barge. It must be pretty filled with garbage and not, nice to live in. But it's actually a really nice place to, be working on the river and waking up every day. So this is our galley kitchen. Again, this is where we have our morning meetings every day as we talk about safety each morning while we're on the barge, as well as what our plans are for the day. Depends on what we're doing, such as maybe we're hosting students to come on board for an education workshop. Maybe we're having volunteers from a community come out. And even sometimes we have our sponsors come out to do a cleanup event with us as well. So the galley kitchen. We're going to take just a few steps down the hallway into our locker space. This is our mud room. This is where we keep, as you can see, our life vest, which we are required to wear every time we're outside of the house barge and on the other barges. We have our safety helmets. We might have gloves in our locker, our muddy boots, maybe our rain gear, as we do work out in the weather elements pretty often, no matter if it's rain, sun, or snow even sometimes. But each of us get to have our own locker, which is really nice. So that way we're not dirtying up the whole house every time after one of our crazy, dirty, and fun cleanups. A few more steps down the hallway here, we'll be entering into our living quarters. As you can see, we're just a few steps away from the mudroom and the galley kitchen, but we have a women's and a men's bathroom on board. So it's really nice. This is the women's. As you can see, we have a shower, a flushable toilet, a sink, and just across the hallway here is the guys' bathroom. So it looks pretty similar in there as well. So then you can also see that we do have a washer and dryer on board. It's really great to have this, as a lot of days after our cleanups were muddy, we're stinky. Sometimes we're, our boots are filled with water from getting in the water a little bit. We don't go diving for the garbage. We're just working on the banks of the river, but it's a dirty job. So it's really great to have these type of things on the barge for us. A few steps down into the hallway, we will enter one of the the bedrooms here. We have 8 bedrooms on board for all of our crew members. So yes, we all do get our individual space, which is really nice as well. We also have an office on board. And so this is what a typical bedroom looks like. You have your bed space, you have a piece of driftwood in the corner to allow you to hang a few items of clothing. You have a few shelves to put maybe your shower caddy, maybe some books, a game, as you can see, a flashlight. And then below the bed is where you have extra storage space as well. So that's really nice, but you have to pack really light because you don't have that much space. And that's kind of the whole idea of the organization too, is just to live minimally, just with things that you need in your everyday life. So that's what a typical bedroom looks like. We'll come back out to the hallway here. And again, we are working our way down to the other side of the barge, where we get to go into my personal favorite room on the barge, which is the floating classroom. The floating classroom allows myself and my co-educator, Mike, to invite 40 students a day out onto our floating classroom on the barge to host education workshops from students that we are able to invite from the river area that we are on. So again, remember, we've worked on 24 different rivers just this year. It's been a little bit different as we haven't been able to invite students out to the barge because of the pandemic, but we're hoping to get back into it soon. You can see that it's decorated really uniquely. There's posters on the board. There's, metal work. There's stickers. There's artwork that people have donated to us. And the panel on the very top of the room, on the ceiling, maybe not the ceiling, but the top of the room, we actually take a picture of each group of students that have visited us, and we post them in our classroom. So that way, if they ever come back and look for themselves, they will see themselves on the wall. Next, you can see that we actually have this room as our living quarters as well. So this actually serves as the living room. You see Coda on our couch. Yes, we do have some barge dogs that live out on the barge with us when we are out there. But this is where we watch TV or sports after a hard days of work, and we can just relax. But other than that, the classroom is pretty unique. If you ever get to come out, there's so much to look at. And this back wall right here, we have kind of like a shelf of little toys that we have collected from the river over the years. So maybe they're from McDonald's or somebody's backyard or something like that. So that's always a lot of fun to look at too. We'll step outside of the house barge to go onto our excavator barge. This is an excavator, what I'm pointing at right now. One of our sponsors, which is John Deere, donated this remarkable excavator to us to help us clean up garbage out of the river. So we clean up garbage out of the river with our hands and shovels, and then the excavator as well. This machine helps us clean up garbage that is too heavy for us to pick up with our hands. For example, cars, boats, and even a combine from a tractor. And so this barge kind of separates from every other barge. A small towboat is pushing it up against the bank of the river. The excavator will reach down, grab it, pick up the garbage, and put it back onto the barge, which you see here. We have a tire barge, which you can see. We collect all those tires, and Remember, we sort them for Bridgestone so that they can pick up and bring back to their facility to recycle and repurpose. Again, we collect about 3,000 tires on average in a year. And then we'll step onto our house barge here, which you can see. We have an area for hazmat, so hazardous materials that we keep separate from everything. Otherwise, this barge is dedicated for plastic and styrofoam. So barrels, plastic bottles, large pieces of styrofoam from people's decks. And we also, as you can see here, have a doll wall. So this fence line kind of holds all the garbage onto the barge to make sure it doesn't float away or fall off. And we have to pick it back up from the river again. But we collect the dolls that we find from the river as well. And it's another really funny, kind of unique, kind of creepy thing that we feature on our barge. But it's awesome. If you ever come on, you should definitely get a picture with our creepy doll wall. And then we also have a metal scrap barge as well. So we find a lot of metal scrap in the river. You can't really see it, unfortunately, from this picture, but what we do with that metal scrap is we take it to a metal scrap yard. We trade it in for money, which then goes back into the budget, which is really nice. We'll go back to the excavator barge on the other side here. This is a skid steer. This is also another heavy machine that helps us push garbage around, helps us pick it up once it's on the barge, just makes our job a little bit more easy. Next and last, we are on the top of the house barge on our house deck. This gives us a really beautiful view of the river, whichever one we might be on. And it just kind of showcases just how beautiful rivers can be, but also our operations to see how much garbage we have collected over time. So a lot of times people will come up here after work to hang out. I like to go out there to watch the sunset and read a nice book. Maybe we'll have dinner if the weather is nice enough, and it gives us a really great view of our operations. And so that will conclude our house tour and our barge tour. And I'm super happy you guys all got to see our operations and our fleet. And that's everything about living lands and waters. And so we probably have, 5-10 minutes of question asking. So are there any questions or comments that people would like to contribute? That's okay. Anything that kind of stuck with you? Anything that you thought looked crazy on our barges or looked really fun?
I just think it's really incredible. All this stuff ends up in our water.
Yes.
Especially like the little pieces of plastic end up coming back in our drinking water sometimes. So it's really good that you guys are doing this incredible thing by doing this cleanup, and it's really cool to think that the little things we do, like changing some habits, can really make a big impact on this. So, even if it's like when you go out to walk your dog, if you see a piece of garbage laying there, like pick it up, throw it away so that it doesn't blow into the river like a lot of things do here. So, just little things
Absolutely.
to help.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Put her on.
Mommy,
Yes, ma'am.
I miss you.
I miss you too, Peanut.
I thought you had a question.
That was a good
Do
question.
you want to ask anything? Do you think it'd be cool to live on a barge like that?
Yeah.
It really
What do you-
is cool.
You think they had to catch their own food, their fish?
Maybe. I mean, sometimes they really just buy it.
Yeah, that typically we're just going to the grocery store, but it's a lot different from our grocery store runs that we do when we live at home, right? We actually have to take a boat to the land, then we park our boat and make sure that doesn't go away, go down the river when we're going grocery shopping. Then we take a truck to the grocery store, go grocery shopping, take that truck back to the boat, load all the food into the boat, and then take the boat back to the barge. So a typical grocery store run might take about an hour, but for us, sometimes it takes like 3 hours because it's such a process. But we do have people that fish off of the side of the barges sometimes too. And People have caught fish, but I don't think we've ever grilled up or fried up any of the fish that we caught. But it would be fun to do that sometime.
So maybe you try it.
Any questions, Bob?
No thanks.
How about Stacy, Sam, and Wes? Do you guys have any questions?
Can you mute it?
Okay.
It's okay.
Well, I just want to tell you guys all thank you for joining us. Rachel, thank you so much for coming and doing this for us. And we absolutely would love next time you guys are up in Fort Byron area to come hit that barge classroom and come meet you guys.
Yes, we would love to. Oh, is there a question?
Star?
I think back when I was in first grade or kindergarten, I think some of the people from Living Lands and Waters came to the Riverdale Ram School.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I'm sure people have come to Riverdale. I was actually just in Riverdale last year to talk to the high school class. And so in a typical year, we are definitely coming to schools to come visit your classroom and talk to you all about this type of topic. And so I'm sure that people were at that school for sure. So that's really cool. So yeah, so thanks so much for having me. If you want to take action in your community, just like Miss Jade said, if you have a bag that you take on when you're walking your dog or just going for a walk with your friends or in your neighborhood, take a little bag with you and see how much garbage you can collect and try to make this world just a little bit of a cleaner place. Thanks so much for having me, and I can't wait to see you guys next time.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
Bye.